Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and today we're taking a look at some knives that are built to last a lifetime. Let's check them out. So now more than ever, there are a lot of knives out there, and for folks out there who like to collect and like getting some new things and like experimenting and experiencing different shapes and different designs, it's awesome. But if you're not really looking to do something like that, if you want to kind of cut through the chatter and find something you know is going to be ultra reliable and something that is going to be a lifetime investment, maybe even something you could hand down to your kids. Well, I've got a few here I think that are going to go that extra mile for you and are going to last. And one of the things you can do first when you're trying to pick out one of these, a knife that's going to do that sort of thing, is look to an established company that has a solid warranty. Which is going to bring us to our first knife, which I'm going to say has a bit of an asterisk next to it, and I'll get to that in a minute, but that is the Buck 110, the Folding Hunter, the classic buck knife. They start at about 50 bucks. They're made in America. This particular version has some extra finger grooves. It's about 70 bucks, so it's a little bit more of a premium for that feature, but you're getting a solid product that's made just almost exactly like it was back in the 60s when it was introduced, because it's a solid, enduring design. Made in America, nice clip point shape, solid handles, enough to hold on to, and you got that back lock at the back there, as the name suggests, for some nice security. Now, what Buck has going for it, in addition to just this classic design, is their forever warranty. They're gonna take care of you if this knife ever gets worn out, which, depending on how much you use it, it may happen, and this is where the asterisk comes in a little bit. Now, it's got a few things going for it that are gonna help it to last, but the lockback mechanism here, if you use it a lot, repeated openings and repeated use over many, many years, can introduce a little bit of play. It might not lock up as solidly 50 years from now as it does today. And also, unlike a lot of more modern designs, you don't have any adjustable pivots here. That you've got this brass bolster and the pivot going through the tang of the knife itself. You can't tweak that at all. There are some things you can do to kind of shore it up if it starts to get loose, or you can take advantage of that forever warranty. But still, solid knife, and if you're looking for something classic and budget oriented that you're going to be able to rely on, I still think this is a very good place to start. Of course, even better than taking advantage of a great warranty like this is a knife with a company that has a warranty like that, but you may never have to take advantage of. And the next two knives I'm going to show you take that lockback mechanism and put their own spin on it to kind of address some of those shortcomings I did just mention. And that's Cold Steel with their Triad lock. I've got two knives here, the Ultimate Hunter here at the bottom and the Code 4 in the clip point blade shape here at the top. Prices on these were at about $114 for the Ultimate Hunter and about $90 for the Code 4, which is a really nice deal. Aluminum handles on that knife, nice and thin, so it's going to be a nice classy looking carry over the years and something that's very easy to pocket. Both of them have S35 VN steel, but the Ultimate Hunter has a bit more girth in the handle. You've got G10 with a bit of a rounded feel, so you're going to have a more comfortable feel in the hand, a bit of a meatier grip, and this might make it a better choice for those outdoor pursuits as well, but it still makes a good EDC. Now, if you take a look at the back of that Buck and the back of that Cold Steel, you can see right here the tang of the knife and the leaf spring on that lock meet up together on the Buck, but you have a little bit of a gap on the Cold Steel. And that's because, for one thing, there's a stop pin in there, combined with kind of the angles of the interface between the lock and the steel. It's supposed to be self-adjusting over time, so any kind of play that may develop, it's going to self-correct, which is pretty nice. Now, one difference here I will mention that I probably could have just put the Code 4 on here, and the main difference here is the grind on the blade. We've got a flat grind on the Ultimate Hunter, but we've got a hollow grind on the Code 4. And personally, I kind of prefer the cutting characteristics of a good flat grind, especially if it's a pretty thin one. But if we're talking about a lifetime of use, the hollow grind actually does have some advantages. Because it's thinner behind the edge because of that scooped out shape, the more you sharpen it, it's going to stay thinner longer than that flat ground knife will. So it might cut a little better down the line if you don't do something like use that warranty to maybe get a new blade installed or something like that. And you've got that advantage, like I said, with the Code 4 here. And you've got a really nice factory edge even right out of the box with Cold Steel. They do a really good job on folders like this. Now the price on these knives, definitely a little bit more than a little bit more in some cases than that buck 110. But this is the kind of a case, if you're making an investment in something, as with any kind of thing where you're buying good tools or the good thing first, it's buy once, cry once. That way you're not making an excuse for the dollars you spent yesterday for the condition of your tool today. All right, next up is the Spyderco Caribbean. And this is what I was talking about with a knife with a thin flat grind. You do have a flat grind here as opposed to the hollow, but because it's a full flat and the blade stock isn't super thick, you're still gonna have a lot of long life when you go to sharpen this knife, whether you get this full serrated one or the standard plain edged version, which I would actually recommend for the lifetime use in this case. Go with the plain edge, it is gonna be easier to maintain over time. But the thing that this knife really has going for it is the stain resistance of the materials here. You've got LC200N steel, which not only does it perform exceptionally well, has really nice edge stability, the edge lasts a long time, but it is just shy of being completely rust proof. You're gonna have no problem maintaining this blade over the years. It's not gonna get all rusty on you. It's gonna look really good in years to come. You've also got a nice solid G10 handle here with plenty of grip, and Spyderco's compression lock, which is one of the strongest in their lineup. You've got some really nice lockup from the tab on this liner that sticks into the blade itself. It's not just a flat liner like most liner locks would be. And you get that one-hand operation, keeping your fingers out of the blade path. Just overall a really solid, usable design. A bit unconventional looking, but it is not gonna quit on you. Now, when we're talking about knives that are built to last for generations even, we've got to talk about the Reeve Sebenza. The current Sebenza 31s, the large version, started about $450, going up to like $550 for the Micarta versions. But this is my old 21, which has served me for many, many years, and it is still rock solid. Now you can get a few different blade shapes with the Sebenza. This is their Insingo pattern, which is essentially just a sheep's foot, modified sheep's foot with a little bit of belly to the edge itself, and nice hollow grind on these guys as well. So you've got that nice longevity built in. These knives are made in America, and the precision is palpable as soon as you pick these knives up. A lot of folks kind of complain that they aren't as fast and fidgety as some of the newer ball bearing equipped flippers out there, but when you're going for a strong knife that just doesn't quit, the Sebenza really has it. Now there's a friend of mine, I think, who said this really well, a really extensive user of knives, and he's put the Sebenza through things that he would not recommend people doing with a fixed blade even, and it comes through with flying colors. You've got nice thick slabs of titanium, just a few moving parts here to eliminate extra play, and you can feel that in the opening action. Maybe a little bit slower, but it is nice and smooth. And the lockup, there's a reason the trope goes, it has that bank vault lockup. It just feels 100% every time. And the strength of that lockup really comes down to two things. One, I talked about it already, it's the precision, and two, it's the frame lock that you get here, which more appropriately called the Reeve Integral Lock, because they did come up with this, and you see it. Everyone does a frame lock these days because it's something that just plain works. And not just the Sebenza in their lineup, you got a lot of great Reeves with that great lockup. So in a similar vein to the Sebenza, we've got a few more kind of frame locking folders that are kind of overbuilt, but not chunky, not too chunky anyways, but things that are kind of engineered to the max and engineered to last. And another American-made knife is the Hinderer XM-18. And this is another case where any of Rick's frame locks are gonna fit the same criteria here. I just happen to pick the XM-18 because it's kind of like just the right size. It's not the bigger knives, it's not too small. It is just a fantastic all-around tactical and EDC knife. Now prices on these vary depending on what steel and what materials are used. I think one of our most recent batches were about $425. This one's a slightly older one, belongs to one of our buyers upstairs. We've got an S35 VN blade, about 3.5 inches. No hollow grind here, but you've got that nice long wearing steel going on. Same steel as that Sebenza I had just a moment ago, in fact. We've got G10 on the front with a titanium liner and a nice thick slab of titanium on the back as well. Now, current versions of this knife come with the tri-way pivot, so you have ball bearings as well as some standard washers included. This is one of the older guys that doesn't have the ball bearings, but it's nice and broken in and flips very nicely. Like the Sebenza, this is another knife that you pick up and you can just feel kind of that tank-like solidity and that longevity as soon as you pick it up. One of the other things that's really nice about the Hinderer stuff is you can kind of customize it a little bit too. I know this is not an inexpensive knife by any stretch of the imagination, but you've got extra like filler tabs you can buy extra stuff on, different hardware, different clips, to kind of really make something your own too, which is something you do see on some lesser expensive knives, but certainly hardly at all on the really cheap stuff out there these days. All right, next up is an Italian knife, the LionSteel SR-11 flipper. And this guy goes a step further than the frame locking designs we've just seen, in that we've got a fully integral handle. We don't have a separate piece front and back. It is a single piece of titanium on this model wrapped around the spine, leading into that integral lock there on the back. Now the benefit of this obviously is you've got a ton of strength. In fact, like if you do something where you've really messed up one of these LionSteels, I'd say you've definitely gotten your money's worth out of this lifetime knife for sure. But you've got a lot of strength, a lot of rigidity in this design as well. You've got a insert on the lock bar here up at the top, which is designed to have a longer wearing interface between the lock bar and the steel, since titanium can be a little bit softer. Now the current Sebenza 31s, they have a ceramic interface, and the more current Hinderers have this as well. So even though these two that I just showed you don't have it, they're constantly improving these designs. You also have LionSteel's Rotoblock, which you can twist down here to keep that lock bar from moving at all, which is a really nice, just extra feature. You've also got ball bearings in this particular knife, IKBS ball bearings in fact. So if you're looking for something with kind of sort of that Sebenza-like feel, but you want that flipping action, this is going to be a really good option. You've got a Sleipner steel drop point blade, 3.7 inches. You got the SR-22 for a smaller version. In fact, both of these previous two knives have smaller versions as well. Just a really solid, no holds barred design that you're going to be able to use for many, many years to come. All right, next up, we're going to go over to fixed blades, and I'm going to talk about RMJ Tactical. I've got their Sparrow here, which is one of their smaller knives, comes in about 200, but pick anything in their lineup, and I'd be able to say the same things in terms of the quality that I can with this particular knife. Now, they've got those big designs, some nice big honkin' tactical things, but I actually really, really like this Sparrow design. It's nice and small, about 3.3 inches. Got kind of a tactical paring knife vibe going on, and as such, this is going to make a nice little EDC for self-defense, a little bit of food prep perhaps, although you do have a hollow grind here, which may not be as good for food prep, but it's good for the longevity like we talked about, but also just a great utility knife overall. Also not a bad bird and trout knife, and you've got some nice orange on the orange and black G10 here, which kind of helps it fit in with that vibe. That is a KnifeCenter exclusive handle material, by the way, just FYI. But those handle scales are secured very tightly to the tang. You've got some flared tubes along here. Nitro V stainless steel on this particular knife, so you've got the stainless qualities and you've got a high degree of toughness as well. The knife is American made, as is the sheath, which is Kydex, and you've got two pull-to-dot straps here, so you can carry it horizontally very easily. You can take those off, throw something on to make it a pocket fixed blade. It's just going to be a really nice knife that's always there for you. Next up, we're going to go with one of the legacy companies out there, and that is the German-made Boker knives. And when it comes to the stuff they make, the Applegate-Fairbairn Combat Dagger is phenomenal. It is built like a rock. Now, the materials that you're going to get here, I will admit, aren't necessarily the latest and greatest. You've got 440C steel and a Delrin handle, fiberglass Delrin, but any of these knives, honestly, if you bought the latest and greatest today, 50 years from now, it may look a little old-fashioned too. So you really want something that is going to last and is going to satisfy. And the German-made fixed blades from Boker, like I said, are top-notch. You've got that 6-inch double-edged blade here. A few different versions of this knife are available. This one has the signatures of Colonel Rex Applegate and Lieutenant Colonel William Fairbairn there at the bottom. Brass crossguard here, and the handles, really nice. You've got a little bit of that wasp shape, kind of descended from the Fairbairn Sykes dagger, and it feels really nice. You got a solid retention screw here right in the middle. Feels phenomenal. sheath is Kydex, so at least you get maybe a more modern take right there. And you've got the hole patterns here. You can use it with the included tech lock or a lot of other aftermarket stuff as well. All right, now we're going to transition a little bit from the tactical into sort of the tactical survival outdoor style, kind of that kind of crossover genre. And it's a company, ESEE, who's really famous for their warranty. All these guys so far have a very good warranty, but ESEE is very famous for their lifetime, no questions asked warranty. And on a knife like this, their ESEE 5, this particular one comes in about $168, made here in America. You have got something that is going to outlast your grandchildren probably. 1/4 inch thick, 1095 steel, super tough with that material and that thickness. And if you ever were to manage to break it, they'd take care of you, no problem at all. But you've just got that massive slab of steel, a fairly stout flat grind, so you're gonna be able to power through some things you probably shouldn't be powering through with a knife, but that's the beauty of this particular design. Now the latest versions of this knife are really nice with their contoured handle scales. This one is a black and blood red G10. Feels really nice in the hand. It's got a perfect feel to it and not too much texture from the ridges where it's going to create hot spots. Got a little bit of space to choke back on that handle. Even though this is not a long knife, there is enough weight here. You could do some rudimentary chopping with it, and you get a nice point there at the pommel to concentrate your force for some of the tactical applications this blade might see. The sheath for this knife is likewise very nicely done. Kydex again. Clicks in nicely. You've even got a nice slide lock here, which when you cinch it back down in this position is designed to keep you from being able to pull this out of the Kydex sheath without like the biggest of yanks perhaps, but even more security, which is nice. You've got some belt attachment hardware included, and also some of that aftermarket stuff like the tech lock is going to work very well here. And last but not least, but maybe first in my heart, is LT Wright. Pick a knife. Same thing applies. You've got blades here that are designed to last. This is the Gen 5, one of my personal knives, in fact, coming in about $240. And you've got everything with LT Wright, from the very basic handle construction here with just standard natural micarta up to some really fancy stuff. And they've all got two things going for them: rock solid handcrafted construction and a lifetime warranty behind it as well. Now the strength of their designs comes down to two things, I'd say mainly. One, steel selection. They always tend to use some really tough stuff. This Gen 5 has A2, about 5 inches of it. Nice flat ground saber grind here. And the handles are finished by hand, which feels really good. But the strength comes down to not just these nice thick bolts that you have here, but also a marine grade 2-ton epoxy that they use. So they like to talk about having mechanical and chemical adhesion for their handle scales. That stuff is very strong that they use. I've actually seen micarta itself delaminate before that epoxy fails. It is really tough stuff. And because of the hand finishing, no hot spots to worry about either. Just a completely comfortable and hand-filling grip. You don't get Kydex with this knife, but that's cool. If you prefer something more traditional like leather, you've got a really nice JRE Industries made leather sheath here. You can see mine has some of the battle scars on it. You get a dangler attachment, which you can fold out of the way if you like. Nice fire steel loop and rock solid as well. All right, that's all for the list today. And while certainly not the only knives you might be able to purchase and expect to outlast you, this is a great place to start. At least I think so. Let me know what you thought of my picks. Let me know what your lifetime picks are down below as well. If you want to get your hands on any of these guys, we will leave links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. Make sure as well that you sign up for our Knife Rewards program so that when you put your money down on one of these lifetime knives, you can earn some free money to spend on your next one, even if you're not going to need another knife to replace one of these. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.